Times
minus
there.
1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Walk to Westport.
What is going on, everybody? I'm in between tokes here. Oh
Your
boy.
intro is too much. That is so much fun. Oh my goodness.
Thank you. My friends Catachronic, they're a band, they do a lot of music, and I'm like, guys, I want a song, make me a song. So
That's
they made Come On
awesome.
Chad for me.
That's
They were
totally cool.
rocking. Thank you. So everybody joining in chat today, this is going to be a very fun episode. We're already hitting it off very easily. We've got a lot that we can talk about. But one of the main reasons I wanted to bring you on today and to have more people hear about your story is you come from an era that is kind of getting written over. And I think preserving like cannabis history, preserving cannabis legacy is super important because we're going to take it for granted one day. And it wasn't always easy. And you've been a huge part of that. I mean, we'll get into that about, how you came around the plant, what that experience was like, where you're located, why that is special. On top of that, though, you're many things. You are an inventor, which I want to talk about CropTops Greenhouses, because that's a pretty freaking cool thing you've got going. You are a consultant working internationally, which I'm just so amazed by you, is in short. So AC Moon, thank you for joining today and sharing your story with a lot of other people. So thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, man. It's so cool to meet you. I've always seen your energy around the cosmos, and I'm stoked to finally get a chance to talk to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we circle the same orbits. I've seen you definitely talk on FCP. I've seen you talk with a lot of people that, I look up to or get advice from. So I feel like you'd be a good conversation as well. So again, I'm glad we're able to do this.
I appreciate it. I love getting stoned with my homies on the internet and having a good chat.
Heck yeah. So let's do that. I'm puffing on a little bit of no joke today. How about yourself? We'll start with that.
I am puffing on a little bit of a white runts that has a tiny bit of, I think it was Zittles mixed in with it. So I have a little bit on the tray there. I was like, all right, I actually need to roll a freshie, which I should have done prior to starting this, but I've got some hash in the pocket, so I'll just keep going when I run out.
Very nice. Now, was that kind of a cross maybe with the white thorn rose into that, or?
No,
White Widow?
It would have been the white rhino that was crossed into it. And so
Okay.
the white rhino kind of has like the more stout, like hummingbird kind of looking buds where they kind of curve a little
Mhm.
bit inward.
Like the beak.
Yeah, absolutely. And but very green and very green. Well, I've been a lot leaning towards the anthocyanin bearing plants, and like the purple plants lately have been making me a lot really happy. Not because of of course, because the color is beautiful, but because I lean towards like the sweets. Like I'm definitely like a sweet lover, more than the gas lover. I'm always into the like linger on my tongue sweetness, and everything else kind of
That's
gets washed out. It's too many hybrids.
that's something that I kind of look for when I'm like taste testing something or I'm getting people's input. It's like if you're able to take that toke and then they do that like you can still taste it because it's coated the inside of your mouth or your tongue. Like they're
Yes,
sitting there just like, yeah, that
yeah.
for me is always a good sign. That's what I look for in people. Ooh,
That's when it's like a full on experience of, there's two, and you can grow a good product, but honestly, in most parts of the world, it's really difficult to cure a good product. And curing is half the battle of being able to preserve those terpenes that, you've managed to develop. And then the really high exposure, I I of course the high elevation because of the chilling hours captures a lot more of those terpenes into the cellular walls so that they can you know endure curing practices. And then there's
right.
also like I've noticed the high UVB in the tropics or in some of the ag areas like Missouri, Tennessee, and like full sun, it tends to
Mhm.
burn out some of the terpenes compared to the very low light that we may have in Humboldt or Nevada County or some of the NorCal areas. Because that low light, they kind of allows them to develop those flavonoids and terpenes a little bit more and capture them, I think, in a longer way. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, 'cause the Sun Belt definitely is where a lot of the agriculture gets done, but terpenes, you're not trying to preserve terpenes on wheat or corn. So
Mhm.
it's not exactly the best. And I imagine too, elevation plays a little bit into it as far as where you're at. And I'd love to touch that real quick. So you're in primarily an outdoor farmer. Is that correct? Or do you do inside as
I,
well? Or do you want to
I
break that down even to like greenhouse? Like how would you describe your growing style?
I don't particularly have one growing style anymore. When you get into the point where you're an expert grower, you should be able to grow wherever and with whatever resources you have available and whatever's
Good
appropriate
answer.
for the space and time and target that you have. So if you have space and time, I started as primarily a dep artist, so light
Okay.
deprivation using indoor practices in large scale agricultural outdoor, using cold frames or actual greenhouses in order to protect things. And that's really like where a lot of my training came in my early days, late teens, early 20s, as I was going to college for horticulture. But um, yeah, like I said, I have the ability now to grow in whatever I'm thrown at. And so even I have a 40-acre farm that's fallow currently, but so there'll be some outdoor for patients that prefer, the regenerative organic outdoor craft. That's fully vitamin D, that's full, terroir that I've worked on for 25 years. And then some people are going to, be setting up their indoor garden. So I'll go down and take care of, helping them build their indoor. And others are greenhouses. And so it really is wherever I'm called to. Yeah, I think that if you really know what you're doing with the plant, there you may have a preference on what you want to do on your personal craft, but I think you should be able to be very flexible and knowledgeable in all aspects of it, even aquaponics and mariculture.
Yeah.
I've trained in that also of using fish in order to have a full cycle. fertilization and hydroponic system using fish. So yeah, you should be
I,
able to do on all of it at this point. I should know how to mess with it if I walk into it for sure. If not, I'm going to be
I,
looking for the resources to figure it out real quick.
Right. And that is kind of one thing that I like about growing is you'll never know it all. There'll always be something that you can learn, and it might not necessarily be new. It could be something that we knew 40, 50, 60 years ago that we just
Totally
haven't been
forgot.
using in practice. So there's a lot of
Mhm.
that. And that's something I always encourage people to, because I primarily grow indoors. I wish I was where you were, but I do. I say, master one style, get very good at it, get proficient into it, be able to manipulate your plants in directions you want, and then go
Mhm.
and try something else. Because, yeah, like
Absolutely.
you just said, if you can master everything, especially as a consultant like you are, you're so much better prepared to walk into any environment and know the nuances, because that's really what it's about. I mean, growing outdoors, yeah, sun, but no, so many nuances, even the microclimates in the hills where you're at.
Oh, absolutely. And it's really all about your target, right? So my preference for my own personal cannabis is organic regenerative craft outdoor with
Mhm.
greenhouse assistance, which means I don't want to allow it to be hit by the elements. Yeah, but I won't allow pesticides or other things on my products and use only organic substances in the area. But really, when it comes to like other people's stuff, you really just have to hear their target. If they
Right.
only have indoor and this is what their market is asking for, you should be able to go into that and provide those things. And really, for me, when I look around now as somebody that has had such a close relationship with the plants and other plants for so long, I feel like I know the plant. And so there's a 3 million ways to skin a cat, but as long as you understand the cat, really it's about understanding the cat. And so you can work with whatever or figure out tools in third world countries where in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we had no access to bamboo or any tie up or anything like that because we don't have hydro stores on the islands. So I cut down all of the last crop and split all of the stems into plant stakes. And then use those plant stakes to do the IPM on the new crop, and then use them throughout the new crop. So I was using the old crop for the new crop. So wherever you are, you just got to be able to work with what you got. And if you walk into a multi-million-dollar facility where it's agri-teched out, really you need to be a tech junkie more than you need to be a grower. You still need to be able to read the plant and to be able to tell what nutrient imbalances it has, where it's space and time in the statocyte, or where the nutrient uptake or vascular system, or how the cellular walls are doing, or there's a lot of science that goes into it that I think that AI cannot emulate yet, which
Right.
they're working on it quite quickly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, AI is super advanced in other areas of agriculture. I mean, we have driverless tractors connected to a satellite that's reading the thermal images of your crops and can tell a 2-foot patch that is nitrogen deficient. And as
Oh
that
yeah.
tractor goes over it, pss, pss, it deploys that little bit of nitrogen in that one specific area.
Uh-huh.
Cannabis is, a much more hands-on crop, and I do a
Mhm.
lot of writing for a bunch of seed banks in Europe, but
Mhm.
my primary target is new growers.
Oh,
And information for new growers is all over the internet, and I see a lot of AI writing articles for certain companies, and I
it's
absolutely see
huge.
how AI is getting it wrong, because AI is only as good as the information it is fed. And we know there
Absolutely.
is so much BS online that it doesn't or yeah, it doesn't know how to distinguish from
No,
that. So if that was adopted at like the commercial model, if they scaled that to that, oh my God, it would burn your facility in like 2
so
days.
oh my goodness. And I write for Weed World magazine and Grow magazine and Dank magazine, Extraction magazine, and a few others. So I take it personally as someone that I spend my time researching, hands-on researching with the plant and
Yes.
the products and this entire system, creating these aspects. And then when I, put it into a white paper or, bring that research into an abstract mode for what, say, a symposium or something like that, it becomes data mined by AI, and they can deflectively only take pieces out of it, out of context, and then combine it with other pieces of other people's opinion and then create a subtext. And I'm like, why is it okay for you to data mine our research when you're not even allowing us to research by law, but yet you're going to capitalize on the research we're doing personally as private entities? Like absolutely, it ticks me off to no end. Like that's where some like Sarah Connor shit will come out of me. I'll start. I want to bomb some shit. I want an AR-15.
Uh-oh. The hills got to her. Hopefully it's not me. Chat, let me know if I'm frozen or if it's AC Moon's frozen.
Yay, we're
Okay.
back.
Yay, okay, we're good. Yeah, it's dude, oh my gosh, yeah, AI it's a crazy thing. I can see many benefits, but almost it's a tool. It can be used for good, it can be used for bad, and oh my god, there's so many crappy uses for it right now. But
Well,
yeah, it was funny.
the aspect that I'm worried about is not so much as what they call, what is it, project driven AI, which is where you can give it a problem to solve that problem. That is the type of AI I believe that will be very useful to humanity, because much like we were talking about agricultural technology and innovations, we can feed a problem in, it can help us solve that problem. So it proliferates that. But deep thought AI, when it's subjectively taking all of social culture in order to come to its own conclusion and teach itself, and then therefore uniformly emulate the context of all society as a super deep thought computer, that's where I'm like, no, dude, like you can stop that like right now and just go the fuck over there with that shit, because I don't need it, because most of humanity is super damaged and we don't need to deal with that.
Well,
It's crazy.
and this is, I mean, this is even from years ago, but it was, how do you create peace on earth when you ask AI, get rid of the humans? And you know what? It's not wrong. And that's a scary proposition. So
No,
we
I had this interesting, and I won't tangent long, but just for the fun of it, I'll tangent for a moment. I had this theory, I took philosophy in college many years, so I was going through like this deductive debate on many different existential items in my 20s and 30s. And I went onto this forum that was much about, like the existentialism on, you know, free choice, free will, opposed to,
Mhm.
predeterminism, right? And at first I was thinking to myself, well, how did all of us, we talk to each other like, we already know that if something touches something by humans, it's no longer natural. So if I'm to walk on a path that was never touched by another human, it's not natural. Or if I am to make a combination of gases, it's not natural. But yet if a gopher makes a dam, it's considered natural. So therefore, like embedded in our communication, we are already admitting that we're not natural. That means that we're not of Earth. And for some reason, from the beginning of our communication as children, we're admitting daily that we're not of Earth by saying that any human interaction is not natural. And so that means that we're not natural and what we do isn't natural. And so I find that concept really odd as we go into like an existential philosophy on like the bigger, greater space and time. Because I mean, if we're not natural, then what are we? And most recently, just to cap that off, I went from thinking that possibly there was an energy, an extraterrestrial energy that came to cause spontaneous evolution in primates to cause us. And most recently, I've come to the conclusion that I think it was actually mushrooms. And I think that primates ate mushrooms and caused spontaneous evolution. and that it's continuing, and that right now we're at like some sort of 30th level of mushroom evolution on how you can take it and have some sort of leveling up of spirituality and mind ability. So that was my weird spiritual tangent philosophy for a fucking minute. Thanks for holding on. We shall get back to business.
I like it. I'm gonna give away some beans here, but you know what? I actually, yep. I always like to give away beans. I like that. That gives me things to think about because it's right. It is the verbiage. It's the verbiage we get from the beginning. So since it's from the beginning, it's ingrained. But very interesting. I will take a look at that. But that also concluded with my thought of AI will never understand mushrooms. So we got that over it.
Until they find a way to feed in some sort of psychedelic enzyme into the electrical computers. And I imagine it's not too far off, you know.
You got robots like short circuiting it. It's like, yeah.
Right. And like it becomes like a little computer fetish thing where they're like, no, zap me, do it now.
the screams of the robots will in 30 years we'll wonder what that's about.
I look forward to it.
Hell yeah. So part of the show again, you know, is like I reach a lot of new growers, a lot of experienced growers as well. And I always like to get people growing and getting growing with beans. And there's a lot of really awesome people in this community. So I'm gonna give away one pack. Well, actually, I'm gonna let people choose what we should give away today. And then we're going to keep the conversation rolling and we'll do some giveaways, 2 or 3 a little bit later. But real quick, just to sidetrack, we got some really cool people out in the community, and Grumpy Toad, who is probably in chat right now. A lot of times he is in chat. He's on chat here. He's in chat on other channels.
Hi, Grumpy Toad.
Yeah, Grumpy Toad is a stud. And Grumpy Toad, like, hey, man, I kind of like running fems right now, and I have a bunch of regular beans. Can you give them away to people in the community? I'm like, yeah. And then he tells me what he's going to send, and I'm like, well, dude, I mean, what if 1 or 2 of the, no. So I've got some really awesome stuff for people here. In chat, guys, just for a little bit here, tell me which 3 you want to see me give away today. I'll run through the choices here real quickly of what Grumpy Toad has sent us. So number 1, real quick, we've got Cali Connection. We've got a pack of Cali Connections. We got the Jamaican OG here.
Ooh, fire!
Cali Connection. Super fire. We got a proper James Loud Banana Cough. So it's the Fort Collins Cough times Banana Z. 10 regular seeds. This is an expensive pack. Like Grumpy Toad seriously is hooking up the community here. Another one, which the community loves, Rasta Jeff, Irie Genetics. This is the Whitechapel Golden Goat. Is kind of one of his staples times Jax the Ripper. He loves his dude, he loves his sativas. I was talking with him once, and he's like, I like the kind of weed that makes you like lose the keys in the car while you're driving and you wonder where they are. I'm like, yeah, sign of a sativa head right there. So we got the Irie Genetics. And this is a 20 pack, guys. And this is honestly my favorite kind of like weed packaging I've ever seen here. But it's the good old cassette tape. But this is the collaboration that Adam Dunn, James Loud. Yeah, let's see. So this it's a
down on the island.
10 pack of each. We've got the Sage and Sour in there, which I've worked with like 10 years ago. Loved the Sage and Sour, but this has it crossed with the Casper OG and the LA Antidote. So guys, let me know in chat which ones you kind of, oh shoot, I forgot one more. Chill Out OG. We got some Chill Out OG F4s here. So
I'd be down to that one too.
Yeah, I know, right? Let me know in chat if you want some Loud, if you want some Irie. We got some Dun Loud. We got the Chill Out OG and the Cali Connections. You guys let me know in chat which ones I should give away today, and then we'll get to that. But Thank you for letting me sidetrack there for a second. I feel bad because I'm very compelled by your story. Let's
Well,
go back a
actually,
little bit.
I'm compelled to sidetrack you already. So just to get the information out there. But I'll let you run the show because it's totally your show.
Oh shoot, we can go anywhere, and as a good sign of that, Cheddar Bob, who is a good friend, he says Chad has an aura of hair jealousy. Cheddar Bob, I already beat you to that before we even got on live. I'm like, God damn, look at that. That is nice. So, yep, Cheddar Bob knew, but
Shut him
we're
up.
covered there. Yep. All right. So you and again, I saw a post that you made a few weeks ago on Instagram, and just to kind of like paraphrase it, is like, the people with their hands in the dirt often get the short end of the stick. And like I've just again, it kind of almost takes one to know one sometimes. I see you. I see you. And you have grown just thousands and thousands of plants. Your experience is pretty dang crazy. But how did this all start for you? Like, where were you? Uh, did you get involved early in life? Is this a generational thing? Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about that, like background.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm a second generational farmer. My dad came back from Vietnam and started farming. My sister's birth name is even marijuana. So I can't really, it's pretty obvious that I'm definitely from that biker, kind of era where they were running whatever and had a good old, what is it, the General Lee car
Oh
was in
yeah,
our
Dukes of Hazzard.
driveway. We had a General Lee, like,
Yes,
so
I
I
love the
grew up
Dukes of
in the
Hazzard.
deep woods of NorCal and the Sierra Nevadas, and off grid, homeschooled until I was in high school, and so went to a small private school for a couple of years, but it was only 12 kids, and I was the only girl. Whatever. So I started hustling when I was probably like 13, 14 because I ran away and wanted to go experience outside of the woods and everything like that. But, I got given ounces of peach can weed and told to figure it out. So I did. And so I just started hustling my ass off and then really ended up like, gosh, I was like 16 in San Francisco. And I,
Oh wow.
I saw the movement for medical cannabis. My mom had had cancer and all my people had died of cancer. And my best friend had leukemia in high school, Sky Earwood, rest in
Wow.
peace, bro. And it just, I was already an activist by heart. I was a little kid already writing activist letters to McDonald's and shit like that from deep in the woods. And so it just like vibed with me. And I was like, that's where I need to go. So I started picking up those, clipboards, Proposition 215, here, sign this,
Yeah.
outside of the grocery stores and things like that. And just crashing on couches. So I ended up starting my first club though, and my first edibles company, Harvest Munch Company, in 2001. And my goal was to join the fight on Big Pharma by supplying the best organic, low calorie edibles that would help patients get off of opiates or pill addiction, drug addiction, alcoholism, many other things, and
Yeah.
multiple sclerosis and AIDS patients and cancer patients, which was really our main goal at that point. Our real focus was actual patients. And so it proliferated into everything else after that as the movement went forward. That was that's kind of how it started. Real deep in the woods though, off grid from the gate. And so we have a different vibe. Being homesteaders is a little bit different than it is coming from like a city
Boy,
grow or something like that. So yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Because you got to get it done. And that's the thing about plants. Anybody who's run, like more plants than you probably should have realize those things don't wait. I mean,
No.
forget vacations. Like
Yeah.
let's talk about light depth for a second, because people are starting to get, their outdoor stuff going this year, whether they're growing 4 in the backyard or on 40 acres. They're kind of getting things going where they're at. But talk
Totally.
about discipline. What for somebody
Oh,
who's maybe heard the term light depth, describe maybe the act of what light dep really is and how you can get extra crops per year, because that's discipline, man. If you're not there to do what you need to do, yeah.
It's a lot. And I've been light depping, like I said, since 1999. As a kid, I was, employed, and then I picked up the concept for being employed by one of the elders and then brought in. And it is the act of pretending and forcing the seasonal changes of light through covering a cold frame or greenhouse with tarps or plastics in order to emulate the end of the year process. And in doing so, we're putting flowers into bud cycle during the highest peak of sun of the year. So June, July, and August, we have the most intense sun. So when you're putting cannabis through flower with that high of a spectrum, you have indoor quality cannabis if you do it right. While if you wait until the sun is in the lower spectrums of the horizon, it brings out a different color of UV and also gets a little bit more fluffier. You'll have a less proliferant quality with the long-term outdoor, just because it's exposed to the elements. It's been out there in flower a lot longer. So in California, at different elevations, my elevation for my property is 4,200 feet. I can pull off 3 crops a year. But we battle snow. At the property over in Humboldt, we can do 3 to 4 if we run right. The problem with depths is you end up having a real high count of plants if you're doing several seasons. So when you're in the metric system or legal system, you're often flooded with twice as many waiting to harvest that one to replant. And so down on the islands, we more think of the sea of green concept, because it's a 12 and 12 cycle all the time. There's no light like we have here in the West Coast that would allow the photosensitive plants, to be able to be light manipulated. And so we have to always, there's no such thing as depth down in the lower hemisphere, because it's always 12 and 12. So we actually have to have light assist at times. And so,
Wow.
Light supplement 24/7. So we started out in Nevada County, and probably as some of the first ones, because Jonathan Baldwin, the first builder of Forever Flowering Greenhouses, created a huge industry here real early 2000s. And so that was the first greenhouse that covered itself. So it light deprivated itself with a timer, electronic arms, rollers that would roll along the cavity, inner walls, and things like that. And so for us, we have huge amounts of panda plastics, all sorts of different dark shade cloths right there. And we have huge greenhouses. And I just came away from doing all work. We've been busting my ass in the Humboldt, and we're pulling tarps on, 30 by 100. These tarps are very heavy. I'm 5'2", and you have to put your entire body on it to get it to come down. Like, I use my body as a weight,
hanging on it. Yeah,
and you have to be able to fluff it up to get it through there. And so every day at the 7 p.m. every morning at that 7 p.m. you are covering manually these large greenhouses and turning the fans on to make sure that you're eradicating any condensation on the inner walls. And then you have to get up at that correct time, because as soon as the sun hits it, it'll start irradiating and causing too much heat, which damages the stoma opening of the plant. So yeah, at the same time, your greenhouse heats up, you start torching your shit out. You don't want that. So you got to get up, and it's a very time schedule thing, because, and you do have, 20,000 to a couple of 100,000 to have, growth. We can do greenhouse a dark and put over. I've been working on innovating the depot top, which is the entire concept that we'll talk about with those panda plastics. But manufacturing tariffs right now have made it so I can't continue innovating at this time, and I have to wait until the economy is less stressed to be able to do that, or sell my patent, which we'll talk about that. If you have a carport or anything like that, you can just go ahead and do that same concept in small, and manipulate your 6 plants or whatever you're legally allowed to do outdoors. In your area, I believe it's 4, right? In Washington now, you finally have home grow, right? You finally got home grow, right?
No,
You
no.
still have your home grow? I thought it passed.
13 years
I thought
after
it,
adult use cannabis.
I thought it
No.
passed. That's a bummer.
If we have a medical card, which I do, and they're not easy to get these days, you can have up to 15. They'll automatically give you 6, but as a just average individual, still can't grow a single plant. So yay, legalization, right?
What a load of horse shit. Oh God.
Yeah,
See, I
load of
thought they
horseshit,
finally
but
passed it. When I started businesses up there, they were passing it and I guess it didn't pass again. So that's
every year it comes
yeah.
up. I've spoken a number of times in front of the congressional body there.
Mhm.
I've just fucking given up on it. I'm like, whatever. You guys are so fucking dumb. Just do what you're gonna do, people. Like, don't wait for permission. Just do what you need to do.
Right.
Uh, I am not a lawyer, so yeah,
Do not
that's
follow our example as law. Right?
exactly. Well, so you know, you were mentioning though, it is possible for even smaller grows. It doesn't matter the scale really. It could be a huge greenhouse like you had, but for people sometimes who are outdoors is their only mean. I'm like, there's a place for autos. Maybe you plant those early if weather permits. You can harvest that while your other ones are kind of growing. But you're cheating the
Absolutely.
system,
But
so
you
you're
don't
able
have
to
to
do it.
think so big. I mean, you can dep anything. Like you could take little clones and you can put them in a little space and you can put a
Oh
cardboard
yeah,
box
yeah.
over them every evening. And in 6 to 8 weeks, you'll have a little, a half ounce of flour. Like you don't have to think about things in this giant, like I need a frame and I need all this polyplastics and all this stuff. Like that's what greenhouses like CropTops greenhouses is able to do, is if you have that tiny space and you just want to do 1 or 2 or 3 plants and really incognito, nobody's going to notice. You can go to smaller, you can do anything you want. Just the concept, like we were talking about, you just need to understand the plant. The plant just wants to go to sleep at 7 and wants to wake up at 7. However you make that happen is up to you. So you could ship it into a shed every night and make sure there's no light leaks. Or I've seen people put garbage bags over them in the islands. Like that there's it's weird, but all it needs to do is go to sleep. And so autoflowers are awesome, but for me, they don't have the terpene profile that I've found consistent with photo period plants. And it's kind of like less of a cannabinoid expression for me in my elevations I work with, even though they test out, not too bad.
Yeah, and I'd personally I've grown less than a handful of autos. I've seen them progress over the years and they look more and more attractive, but I can't say that I can, pick it out of the lineup of, smoke reports. I can usually pick the plant out because they grow in distinct ways. So that
Yeah,
I can usually pick out. But yeah. Let's see here. Let me give away this pack of beans real quick, and I want to keep talking about some more of the growing adventures you've had there. We're gonna go. So
those beans too.
yeah, chat. Chat. I'm listening. It looked like the Cali connection was one that you guys definitely wanted to see on this episode. So I again, I do like the packaging. I'm a sucker for good
Yeah,
packaging.
the matches. That's a great one.
Yep. Matchbook. So flour 75 to 85 days. 85, 15%. I always laugh at those numbers, but we put them there because it does give people a frame of reference. 10 seeds, though, regular seeds, and it comes with a cool guitar pick in there. So,
That's
again,
great. Good marketing.
yeah, it's the little add-ons. I mean, oh my gosh, I just watched a documentary on spray packs and like the New York and
Good
Mylars and all these
Lord.
things. It's just get out of here with that stuff. Like I remember when weed sold itself, like you
Yeah.
didn't even need a bag. If it smelled good enough, people would take the handful. So
Yep.
packaging, folks. All right, I'll sidetrack from that one. If you guys are in the US and you would like to play for this pack of Cali Connection Jamaican OG, please in chat, go ahead and, take a look at the page I have not filled out yet. Start collecting comments. Grumpy Toad, big shout out to Grumpy Toad, because he contacted me. Yeah, again, he sent all of these like very, very nice packs of seeds to give away to the community. So
that's
a
so
huge
cool.
shout out. We got a good community here. So yeah, if you're in the US and you want this Cali Connection Jamaican OG pack, just type Grumpy Toad into chat, and I'll leave that up here for a couple of minutes. But kind of, back to growing. You have grown, again, thousands of different plants. What have been some of the, where do I go with this? I'm like, do favorite traits or favorite plants? Like, what do you look for? Or what makes a plant like good for light dep? Is there such a thing?
Oh, well, you want the fastest and the easiest to control, right? For me, I've been light depping. My favorite to light dep is I'm a goo girl. So I've been growing the Akui, since 1999. And I feel like I'm an expert of that plant. I can grow it down to 36, 38 degrees without a problem. While, not everyone has different plants that they're, really favored of. But what makes a good pest control and easy pest control aspect? Normally seed starts not so much in light deprivation, just because it take a little bit longer to manipulate. While we take clones, I'm able to manipulate a clone through 16 years to take it from being 8 to 9 weeker all the way down to a 7 weeker. So I can actually remove the time that it takes that flowering by taking generational clones. And I was going to say for a minute, on a topic that I've been discussing a lot with different science aspects and doing a lot of research into it, including Kevin McCarrigan of medicinal genomics, talking about the heterozygous. And I personally I'm against fems cannabis. And so, and the same as with the concept of Monsanto, when we feminize cannabis, we are genetically modifying it from its original genotype pattern. And so when we do that several times, it exponentially through the generational trees starts actually messing up and muddling the genetic pool, like to a point of where it's going to become the white washes that we used to talk shit about, that people used to think would come from cloning, is actually coming from crossbreeding to that point. And so when you go into this point of the concept that I think that people don't understand is feminization is, I'm a female, right? And you're a male, Chad. And so right now they're gonna spray sodium nitrate. And this is the silver nitrate is actually the same chemical that creates bombs, and it's the same chemical that's used in ammunition. The silver nitrate, they're gonna spray it on me, and then my tits will start like melting off, and one of my arms is, I'm gonna grow a dick, all right, and I'm gonna grow a dick so that I can impregnate myself. Is, if you could think about it that way, it's fucking weird. All right, I don't.
Yeah, because I'm getting the mental image as you're saying it. I'm like, oh, that's
so
weird.
This is what people are asking cannabis to do, instead of just popping seeds to where you have a strong T chromosome and Y chromosome, and where they bond genetically to be able to match their genotypical specific characteristics. They are actually bottlenecking chromosomes to where eventually all you're doing is making hermaphrodites. And then when you are taking seeds that you think are feminized because you think you're going to get less males, it's actually just because that cell is now confused, and it will bring out the genotype which has the selfing mechanism. And they have taken selfing out of cannabis for 30, 40 years, long before you and I were in the game. They were removing the selfing by separating males and females. which we know through males and females, when I separate males from the female population, it raises the THC and cannabinoid profile as well as the terpene and flavonoid profile of that female, because it is looking to attract the pollinators and suitors that are going to bring that pollen from the male. And so it starts putting out these stressors and these things that are like, you know, come to me, hey, and that raises those terpene levels. That's where we make the perfumes of these plants and things like that. So I look at people now working with rare breed and have, you know, come in contact with a lot of breeders, Chaw Genetics, you know, Mean Gene, like so many biovortex. So we've had some great talks at Area 101 and other meetings about how the fact is that we can't create an entire genetic history out of hermaphrodites and expect anything good, because all you're doing is embedding the pattern of selfing or hermaphrodism back into your plant. So there's this wave of people thinking that, you know, regular seeds are less than, and for all of us that are breeders, I don't want to touch anything that has had the silver nitrates touching it, because that genetically modifies it and it doesn't make for stable genetics. You have to be able to vet your genetics for at least 2 years, have them not touched by chemical organisms for them to be able to be an organically grown substance. If you put the feminization on it, you can't technically be organic because you used silver nitrate and you affected the hormones. So on the last tyrant that I'll say, because I'm probably taking up too much time on that fucking subject, and I'm sorry because it's something I believe in.
We're going to keep talking.
Dude, our foods and our ag and everything like that, and all of ag is manipulating hormones. It's causing hermaphrodism and a great amount of things, all the way down to extra eyes on toads and some backwater fertilizer wash off a cow farm. Like the things and antibodies they put in there are affecting us. We know it about milk. We know that, you know, there's certain things that would cause gynomasticism in boys. Like we know. Right. And in California, PGRs, which are hormone manipulating elements, are illegal. So you cannot use them to force certain plants to not grow, or sometimes they'll spray the different PGRs to make a more dense product. And it's not illegal in cannabis. They haven't begun testing it out or removing it from the cannabis cycle. So if you have indoor cannabis that's like a rock, it's more than likely grown with PGRs, because the growth stimulating, it's actually a growth regulators, plant growth regulators, and that is stimulating hormones. Hormones themselves, if you eat something that has irregulated hormones, then you yourself affects your endocrine system, and the same happens in reverse. So I just wanted to put that out there because I've been going on that in my brain for a while, and we got to stop those types of practices before they become commonplace. Understand that regular seeds are the strongest and the most stable seeds that you can have. They're created by a man and a woman. They're created by a male and a female, and that makes for a stable. Not me growing a dick and fucking myself, excuse my language, because that is not natural. It's not natural. And we shouldn't be doing it in the cannabis community. Yeah. So, yeah.
There's a lot to unpack there, and I absolutely do want to unpack that. Let me give away these beans here real quick, and then we get into this one. We'll get into that. So again, guys, Grumpy Toad donated a whole bunch of beans to you, the community, and he uses I am the vessel which is giving them away. And the first one we're doing right now is this Cali Connection, the Jamaican OG. So again, big shout out to Sir Grumpy Toad for hooking up the community. The Cali Connection, got the cool packaging. Kaboom. There we go. All right. So if you're in the US and you've typed Grumpy Toad into the chat, good luck. I'm going to hit this now. And if you do win, please reach out to me. My links, my IG is in the show notes. And so is the contacts for AC Moon. You can find her on Instagram You can find her website for Indica Innovations, and you can also find the CropTops Greenhouse Instagram links down below. So just scroll down, click on them, and give her a follow. Congratulations, Jeffrey Jackson. You, boop, boop, you have won the Cali Connection seeds. And okay, so let's get back to this. Let me stop sharing there. Okay, here we are. We're back now. Okay. So yeah, male and female, and that's actually why these came to me, because these are regular seeds. Now,
I heard
so what? I'm dropping a peg. Oh crap. Okay, it goes under the dang thing.
drop.
All right. So here's right drop. So here's the interesting conundrum about markets and breeding in general. The average buyer does not want regular beans. They don't want to have to sex them. They don't want to. Uh-oh. Is there echo?
Sorry, I've got people trying to contact me.
Uh-oh. Okay. Let's see here. It did some kind of audio loop now. I don't know. I hear myself more than you.
Oh no, can you hear me?
I do hear you very faintly, but I hear myself more. I think the earbuds died. Echo. Okay, so there. Okay, echo's gone now. How are you?
Okay, great.
Okay, we're back. We're perfect. Okay, so the weird roundup point is like, I personally prefer to grow with regulars myself because it does give me options. If I find something in there, I like to use males for breeding projects, just a lot more pollen. There's more potentials. From what I understand, you were talking about chromosomes, and yes, the male plant and the female plant actually have slightly different numbers. And by just using one and not both, you are excluding certain genes and certain potentials. So you are kind of creating more of a limited picture through fems. But I've also read that fem crosses tend to be higher THC, which is, or THC was more linked to the female, and that's kind of why you could get the combination. But I guess the question here is, so what do we do? Having said that, and kind of being in an agreement there, if the market is asking for fems, what is the answer there? Do we make the market bend to? Yep. Do we make the market bend to our will?
You got like a little bit quieter, just to let you know. Like you're quiet before we had that sound interruption.
Yeah, you're a little quieter too.
In my opinion, okay, so we've been dealing with this with the genetics company that I've been helping build for the last year with Rare Breed. Is okay, so the market wants one thing, but you have to break it down to, okay, well, and this is gonna hurt, and I'm sorry if I hurt anyone's feelings, and I don't mean to sound offensive, but I have to be a little bit realistic with it. Is that
please?
Americans and humanity believes in a lot of convenience, all right? Convenience often ebbs tides of lack of education. And lack of education is directly what stems the non-fem or fem movement, is because they're not thinking about the reaction and action of what dipping an embryo or a seed in silver nitrate is in the long term of thing, or even the presence of silver nitrate in the world, let alone even learning how to sex a plant so that you're not feeling. Just because you have feminized seeds doesn't mean that there's no males. It just means that there's less, and the less doesn't mean non-existent. You're still going to pop males sometimes. There's no, you can still have 5 out of 6 and they'll still be, have been, touched with silver. None of it is a guarantee, but people's convenience mind ends up being all like, oh, you know what? I don't really actually have to learn how to grow if I just go ahead and like grab these ones, oh, they're female, so I'm going to grow them, they're good. And I can spray some stuff on them and then they can fuck themselves and then I'll have seeds again and like we're good. None of that is really learning how to grow. And I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm talking shit, but that is just convenience and commerce. And that's really not what I personally want to see in the genetics pool of what's going on. If to be an actual breeder, to be somebody that is providing genetics, you should also think about the fact that you are hermaphroditing. If you want to create a jelly roll donut train wreck, then get a fucking train wreck and get a fucking jelly roll donut. Like you don't have to have one plant because you bought it somewhere, spray some stuff on it, like turn it into a freaking male for whatever goddamn reason, then get another clone from another place, and then think that all of a sudden you can play God and it's stable genetics. It's not true. And I've watched it happen. So I don't mean for anybody to sound like less than, but for us as professionals is less than, and it's only the convenience mind. And I'm more than happy to teach you how to use Google and go ahead and see some pictures on how to sex a plant, because it's going to be bigger, it's going to be higher, it's going to provide you more cannabis per square footage, it's going to provide you it's just going to provide you a lot more if you just have healthy, good seeds. That's all.
Yeah, I think sexing a plant is probably just more scary than anything for people, because it's actually very easy. You actually are able to identify it with plenty of time before any potential pollen would be flying. Like if you guys are looking where your stigmas come out, where the hairs come out of the crux of your auxiliary branches, that's where you're going to see the first sex organs.
That can magnify things. Like all you have to do is magnify it and look for those little filled hairs. And like I said, even if you have a little doodly doo, a little baby babe, you can just put a bucket over it for 5 days, 8 days at the most. It's gonna either throw a hair or it's not, and it's gonna either have a V shape or an upturned follicular hair. And so that's where it is. The V shape down is the male, V shape up, follicular hair. That's the female. So all I ask the people that want to get into it, you want to grow weed, I mean, learn how to grow weed. Don't just spray some shit on it and just be like, because you're just mucking up the gene pool. These damn hippies have been making these cannabis for a long time, and we don't need a whole bunch of hermaphrodites around.
No, I mean, this is interesting because there's so many different thoughts and there's so many different approaches to it. And one thing that I think you maybe align with is just like preserving the cannabis gene pool. Like that's very important. You have an appreciation for some of the building blocks, the founding strains, the Afghanicas, the Colombians, the Oaxacans, Panama Reds, these types of things turned into like the sours and the chems and kind of the building blocks, which we're in right now. As you probably know, we're in a very muddied gene pool because of the accessibility to things like feminizing and people just taking hot shit number 1 and hot shit number 2. Boom, look, we got hot shit deuce. So it's kind of muddied it's muddied the pool some. But there's also the feminized people who are for the medical growers, or maybe let's say they only can grow 4 plants. They're sticking to their 4 plants. They want to know when they plant 4 seeds, they're going to have 4 plants to harvest. So that is something that's important too.
Seeds don't guarantee you males. Like,
they don't guarantee
less males.
But it's like 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 10,000. And I have actually seen it in a commercial facility where we were walking through a room of, okay, you've run more plants than I have. I don't know about feminized, but you've definitely run more than I have. But I'm just saying, I have seen it in a commercial setting, in a room full of femmes. We're walking, and I'm like, that plant has nuts. And they said, no way. And I said, yes, it does. And he's like, it's impossible. They're all femmes. Look at this. Looked at it. He said, holy shit. Pulls it out of the soil. I'm like, get sec testing, because I'm curious what the chromosomes are. There's always the chance of like stray pollen, but unlikely. So I have seen a feminized plant be male, but I just haven't seen it a ton.
In my opinion, and from the research that I've collected from many scientists at this point, is due to re-embedding a hermaphroditic chromosome. And literally, it's the difference between like plastic growers and organic growers are different. I personally see, okay, I've done the research on a plant that hasn't been touched with PGRs side by side with a plant that has been touched with PGRs. And I have watched the hormonal basis. So here's where it gets complex. And I don't know how deep your Patreons are, or your YouTubers, or your, I'm sorry, I've forgotten the platform that we're on.
Oh, we're on YouTube. It's okay.
This is where it gets deep, all right? So hormones really are determining everything about plants. Hormones are determining everything about me as a person too, and you too. It determines our age. It determines our looks, our characteristics, our morphology, how our body digests nutrients, uptakes, and there's everything in a plant. There's no certain cell in a plant that's creating hormones. The entire cellular body creates hormones, right? So we're eating, something that is an organic hormone base, or something that is not, or we're smoking or ingesting in some form, organic or manipulated. And if just as somebody that knows how the endocrine system interacts with hormone altering substances, I haven't seen the science yet. There is no science out in separate foods where there's a reason that PGRs are illegal.
Yeah.
They're just not caught up with cannabis yet. And so if we're using hormone manipulation tools in your home to change something out of convenience, I just don't know anybody that to me, it just kind of is crazy. It's bottlenecking chromosomes, but I don't see how it is of benefit to anyone, because for us in Humboldt, when we're popping 10,000 seeds, they could say fems or they could say not fems. We have to sex them all, because at this day and age, you don't know if they're coming from her. If they're fems, they're coming from hermaphroditic stock. Just period. They're coming from her. That plant. It just the word fem means you came from a woman with a dick. Period. The like mic drop right there. So if you're buying things from a woman with a dick, you got to expect that somewhere along the line that a girl's going to have a dick again. Like genetically, it's just a probability factor. If you have two healthy specimens and create a stable genetic, that's when it should be 20,000 square foot growing facilities, because those stable genetics are going to have a stronger ability to fight pests and molds and all the things that, if you have strong hormones, it's bigger plants, it's bigger buds. If you have weak hormones, they have a hard time digesting nutrition. There's all these issues. They attract bugs because they have the wrong rhythm coming off when the pheromones are off. Like, it's all kind of like a big, like, mashup, really. It's all an effect of each other. So we just have to think of the long-term effects that we're having on something that we're consciously cultivating, in my opinion.
Thank you. Excellent points. And I'm actually, people in chat are enjoying it. They're actually like, she's kind of quiet. Can you turn her up? I don't know. Is there anything maybe blocking the microphone right now, or?
We were louder before we had that issue, and then for some reason it got quiet.
Maybe do you want to try this? Because again, I definitely want to tack onto that and add to that. Do you want to maybe I could give away another pack of seeds real quick? Do you want to see if going out and then coming back in will maybe bring our volume back up?
Do that. Yes.
Sweet. Thank you. All right. I will be here. All right, guys. We're going to give away another pack of beans. I hope you guys are enjoying this conversation. I am absolutely freaking enjoying it. And there's some things I want to unpack here about feminization and hormones and stuff. And so AC Moon is going to be back momentarily. But I am going to give away another pack of beans in the meantime. And again, huge shout out to Grumpy Toad because he sent in all of these packs to give away to the community. We already gave away the Cali Connection. We are going to give away this time. Let's give away the Irie Genetics. All right, guys. So if you want to play, if you are in the US and you would like to play for a pack of the Irie Genetics Whitechapel, which is the Golden Goat crossed with Jack the Ripper. Again, big shout out to Grumpy Toad for hooking these up. Go ahead and in the chat, type the name of our awesome guest today, AC Moon. I'm going to bring her back in right now. Do I sound any louder?
Do I sound any louder?
You do, actually. That sounds better.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Okay.
So-
That's awesome. All right. So with the feminized things, I'll add to that, and then I'll give you the closing thoughts on it. Because you're fascinating. We have plenty of other things to talk about. So I don't want to get too stuck into this one. But I do want to respond because
Hear me where you want me to go, buddy.
All right. So, how I understand it is, genomics, and I do get a lot of my information. Kevin McKernan, Medicinal Genomics, great resource. Ryan Lee, Chimera, also a great source. Like when it comes to knowledge, I put those two people kind of at the top just for what they're doing. And I did reach out to Chimera actually after I had that experience in that room where your fem was a male, no doubt, not halfway, it was full male. And I kind of talked to, I'm like, so, how can this be? And how I understand things is all cannabis plants, whether it's feminized, whether it's regular, whether it's hermaphrodite, they all have the potential to be hermaphroditic. But is that switch turned on or is it turned off? It could be epigenetics that affect that. It could be a lot of things, stressors that would maybe flip that switch on or off. So all of them, I think, have the potential to be intersex. Fems, you may see it a little bit more. I haven't experienced that, but again, that's just a numbers game. But what I got to with him about that feminized male, I said, how can this happen? And I love him to death because he gives me one sentence answers, and that's all I need. And we know that we reverse a female plant with the STS or colloidal silver or other things. What that does is it blocks the hormone, it blocks ethylene. So it takes the ethylene away, which is the feminine, or it promotes the female organs. So when we use that chemical to take that hormone away, it expresses in a different way. And his answer to the feminized male was like, well, if there's a gene related for ethylene production and it was broken, wouldn't it do the same?
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me lead to, it just being genes or potentially, because that to me that is a logical answer. I'm like, yeah, that would explain how you could get a true male from a feminized stock. It's like, dude, that gene just like broke. So that's kind of how I understand things. And I definitely want to give you the last, thoughts on it. If you have anything to add before we move on there.
Well, we need a lot more science on it, that's for sure. But
Yeah.
I'm more of a long-term thinker. Like we can look at something as the here and now. Like presently, we got this and this cross, and we got this and this cross. And it at this point, like when I started, we had the Blackberry Kush, we had Northern Lights, we had the Maui Wowie, we had the base strains that have built what we now are. We're now at 16 to 18 parental parentages that we just even know of in our lifespan, just in one breeding company.
Right.
So at that point in time, you're working with an exponential amount of probability factors on a genome scale that may not necessarily translate to vetted genetics, of which are stable and consistent, and you can expect the same results from repetitively in an agricultural or home setting, which is really what we have to get to in order to be considered a stable commerce, is predictability, where we're able to create standard operating procedures that emulate something because that plant it has a process that we are knowledgeable of and can expect. And so all of these different like imbalances that can come, I'm not thinking about, okay, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 generations of F meaning feminized, not F3 meaning crossbred back, and a version 3 or an S3, shall we say. So what if we, STS 4 generations in a row in order to create a 5th generation? Like at that point in time, I feel like there's going to be a counter expectancy that we can't even possibly fathom yet about genetic mutations and the changes that it will go to. Elementally, we're playing God, we're genetically modifying something. And if you do that for 5 or 6 or 7, 10 generations, I mean, we're not not even working with the same plant we were in originally. And the original plant is like the medicine that has the power to heal the nation, so it still has its application. It's just going to get muddled and kind of whitewashed out like all of the ag is, where our nutritional base isn't even in the soil or in our food that we eat. And I don't want to see our plants just get destroyed by that. That's kind of my custom.
It's a great way of putting it, and it does put it into perspective too. And Don G here says, God works in exponentials, and I think that is a huge, kind of to your point. If I just sat in a 4x4 tent for my entire growing career, I might not notice it. But the first time somebody plants a 1 acre, a 2 acre field with the exponential large data set, it is more likely to pop up. So yeah, scale has a lot to do with it. And I think that's kind of where you're going. If we were to get that larger data set, the more experimentation, we would see these anomalies popping up. And 5, generations down on a selfing project, most of the most breeders that I've talked to on the subject, they're like, we don't really go far with the selfing. It's usually something then to outcross with something else because they are seeing things that they don't like, potential recessive traits or even just inbreeding depression. So I don't think we have really figured out what happens.
And again,
when we go
the
that
size
far.
of the plants and the quality of the weed I see is from something that comes from a pure non-GMO line organically is just, it's so stony and it's so good and it tastes that linger. Oh and whoa, I got feminized ones. The same crossbreed is 2 feet smaller, like sitting next to each other, same growth practices. Like you can see it. It doesn't have the same amount of hormones and vitality.
Yeah, right on. I'm getting they always bug me, Mr. Magpie. They always bug me for a hair flip in the chat, but you know what, guys? I'm outdone today, so we're just not doing it.
A hair flip. Wait, tell me about this.
They go wild for the hair flip. I really should get one of those OnlyFans, I think it's called, but who knows? Maybe one day I'll start charging people for hair flips and feet pics.
I tell people it's called only fan leaves, where I'm going to stand there and pick weed leaves and talk shit about the politics of the government. It's the only fan leaves.
I like it. I'd like
Oh,
it.
wait, let us hair flip together then.
Yeah, okay. Ready? Magpie, your moment of like zen right there. People are losing their shit. Loving it.
That's so fucking weird. Like, to me, I'm just like, that's crazy, dude, right now. I need to get one of those really Afghani
what are those bunny rabbits that have really long hair? I do love those though.
Oh, God.
I've always loved the long haired hippies.
So one of my like favorite all time anti propaganda like news pieces was in Utah. It was around like 2012 or 2014. It's when our states were going legal and they were looking at a medical
Mhm.
program there, and they were doing this press conference, and like this cop, like this official dude, was sitting there talking about how it's a hazard to kids and all this shit, right? Obviously, but they're like, and also to the wildlife, because they were taking down an illegal grow, and the bunnies were just coming up and still eating this, and we're gonna have stoned rabbits. It's like,
Oh
what?
yes.
It was one of the
Oh,
best press conferences ever, is talking about stoned rabbits. Like,
oh, that's awesome. I've seen cannabis interact with so many different animals. Now I think the funniest one is back when I had an edibles company. I was in my early 20s and I wasn't really like fully aware everything, not as hyper aware as I am now. And I had a big old thing of
right?
peanut butter. I'd make bonbons and Reese's peanut butter cups, super potent for this one cannabis dispensary that I was fulfilling at that moment. And I like got it all scraped out, didn't get it all fully scraped out, set it outside on the deck and had some other dishes that I needed to do. And they were overflow because I was baking too much in my house. And, lo and behold, a couple hours later, I come out and everything's gone. And I'm like, what the, where's everything? I start walking behind the garden and I see a trail of these items and then a sleeping 300-pound bear. And the black bear had apparently licked all of the cannabis utensils and kitchenware clean, and the bear was straight passed out right behind my garden.
Damn. Okay. Hey, if it can take out a bear, give me a couple, because that's good shit right there.
They're passed the fuck out.
Oh, dude, that is awesome. So you've had plenty of experience then with cooking, and what are some of the different things that you like to do with the cannabis? Do you kind of just grow, like, you prefer flower? And I know you consult with a lot of different groups and people, but just how about for your personal self? Do you like
Well,
flower? Is it go into concentrates? What do you
I
typically do with your
I
stash?
do. I pretty much, do it all in some ways. I make a lot of edibles and have since the early 2000s. I was taught confections like on the wood stove, homesteader style, making chocolates and caramels and all the goodies.
Ooh.
Um, um, by my mother, who's old school homesteader, who I living off grid, off the land and stuff. You start a fire, we make the candy and stuff. And so I instituted that for Harvest Moon Munchie Company, and I was the first company at the time that made all my stuff with extracts. And so I didn't have the 2-pound Rice Krispie treat because it was all made of cannabis butter. And the cannabis butter, it's got all this roughage in it, and it's like 200,000 calories or some shit. I was able to make a
No.
little piece of fudge in 2001 that like could put you down. And so it excelled my business, I think, a little bit for being able to work with concentrates and sugar science, because you can't use cannabis butter in a lot of concentrate or confections and types like that. So I really enjoy making all of those, the infusions. I also like doing the long-winded infusions, which are called the decoctions. And the decoctions, which is
What's that?
decoction is the process of basically time evaporative. So back in the day, they would make decoctions of like a salve, where they would actually, take a lavender and a menthol and cilantros and things, and hold them in water, agitate them through time until all of it was dehydrated enough to leave like a gooey residue at the end, right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
so it's kind of like a natural time expanded RSO that's not distilled, and it's not RSO at all, but it's called a decoction. It's a natural infusion. It's called a passive infusion. So one that doesn't use, heat or chemicals.
Mhm.
It just uses time and water. And so I like to use decoctions for, the salves and the teachers. So I'll have some sitting for a couple of years in order to
make a really nice potent decoction that's infused with maybe some lavenders or some honeys or something like that. I smoke cannabis constantly throughout the day, but I am known as like an elephant. So I can smoke anything and I don't get high at all. I have such a high tolerance level, it borders insanity. I have, I'll smoke and smoke and smoke and smoke, and
Whoa.
maybe 7 or 8 joints in, I might start to feel it. And so I have an oversaturated cannabinoid base, I guess, from working with cannabis so much. And so, but edibles will still give me a little bit of a buzz. They'll make me sleep good at least. So I use a lot of cold water hash. I just made a couple of good cold water hashes out in Dinsmore of some gelato cake, rare cake, and I think it was like lemon cherry gelato as well. Came out fire though. So that helps me finally get a little buzz on and conquer the cannabinoid wall that I think everybody eventually hits. That it's pathetic and it feels like alcoholism, but at the same time, at the same time, I enjoy it.
That's,
Enjoy
I
it just
mean,
for the taste and the energy of it. I get creative when I smoke, but I am not bothered if I don't smoke either. I don't get really stoned like a lot of people do.
it's, some people with edibles, they don't feel them at all. I, do need a little bit more than the normal person, but I also have a buddy who could smoke, me under the table, and he needs 5 milligrams. So that's a weird thing, but
Yeah.
we've repeatedly experimented with this, and it holds true every time.
About the edibles and the potency factor. Do you know where that is?
Just enzymes in the liver, because
Yeah.
I know.
It
No.
transfers to delta 11. No, you're totally correct. But it's the
Oh yeah.
only place in the whole cosmos that makes delta 11 bioavailable to us is in our liver. We can't emulate it or anything. And it's created by those enzymes, like you just said. And so it gets a super loaded delta 11
Which,
will put you down.
yeah, I mean, it's, because they synthesize pretty much all these other kinds of crazy THC forms, which I'm not a fan of. Whole plant medicine is where I'm at, but yeah, the Delta 11, it's strictly from the liver. Um, I wonder when they'll figure out how to extract it from the liver of ducks or something and then inject it. But that that reminds me of terpenes, though, because we were just talking about the long infusions that you're doing. Um, how do you feel about the presence of even botanical terpenes being
Oh,
re-added into cannabis?
added into like infusions or decoctions.
Yeah, I guess I mean into like distillates, cartridges, concentrates, smokables. They're not really putting it in flowers, but because
Well,
again, I'm
I don't
a
know.
whole
Back in the
plant
day, we
medicine
used to
guy.
hustle. Before I became a professional and worked with the university, when we were still trap stars back in the day, and we were, I mean, it's Proposition 215, so the legal area. There was like they used to have like this grape spray, and you could like trap spray, and that's now come back to where they're trap spraying smells and terpenes and oh, you want grape? Oh, we'll make your shit smell like grape. Here it's 2,500 a
Yeah.
pound, this type of thing. But it's some I actually, I've worked personally and done some product innovation personally with some of the terpene infusion companies that are working in edibles and topicals arena for using the terpenols and the polymers, inactive ingredients to make all sorts of different products from that. And I really tell people that perfume science goes back to the 1400s. It's one of the first
Yeah.
sciences that we ever had because it was based off of perfumes and colognes, which is the laws of attraction. It's the laws of manipulating hormones through, to and causing relaxation through smells, which is also manipulating hormones, raising your cortisol, your
Mhm,
serotonin
mhm.
levels, and dopamine levels through smell interaction. Our brain fires off. And
Yep,
so
absolutely. Oops. Let's see. Is it me? Is it you? I can't tell which one of us is froze. But she's talking about manipulation through terpenes and scent. And it's absolutely true. I mean, guys, every time you walk by like a burger place, they always pump the smell out. The same reason they use different colors. There's all kinds of ways to manipulate the brain, and scent is a wonderful way of doing it. So, okay, she froze. Thank you guys. Tokes, Lobo grows, Sir Hunts a lot. Oh,
It did make it really gross. But for the most part, I don't want to add stuff. I want to see it unadulterated, and I want those terpenes preserved, because distillation, not so much. But if you have live rosin, I mean, the beauty of it is because it's already got those flavonols and terpenes that are just like, you make your nose itch and make you want to, like we were saying, let it click your tongue a little bit. So,
yeah.
but we got a whole bunch of like crap, Broadway stuff that they got to spray some terps on it, then, that's the dollar store products to me, honestly. I consider it a cheaper. We definitely wouldn't at Emerald Cup, when we're judging the Emerald Cup or something, we wouldn't consider it as a quality product.
Yeah, that's it. It takes away from the purity of what we're after. It's the wrong direction. We're adding in things that we don't know how they react, interact, and most of all, what happens when they combust. So, yeah, that's why I love my flower, my full plant medicine guy.
The glyphosate.
Yeah. Let's give away the Irie genetics here real quick, guys. Again, if you're in the US, type the name of our guest, AC Moon, into the chat real quick. You are playing for some Irie genetics, Whitechapel, and these are courtesy of Sir Grumpy Toad, who you probably see in chat today, who you probably see in chat here and in many other places. Again, he reached out, said, I've got some things that I want the community to have, and he sent us just the freaking coolest stuff. We'll do another pack later too, but I'm going to hit this here real quick. Good luck. Again, if you guys are in the US, you can contact me just through Instagram or my email on the website. Those links are down in the show notes. So are the links for our guest today, Spanish Dre. What's up, buddy? You know how to get a hold of me. I love how it does the psh, psh, the confetti on there too.
Right. It can be keef for us. It's not confetti, it's keef. We're just dumping keef parties.
Heck yeah. So you mentioned, the Emerald Cup there. And I'm sure you've got to try some of the samples there, some of the entrants. You probably know a lot of the people who are entering too. What are some of the highlights that you've had over the years from that? Is that a place where you're finding a lot of... Okay. So the Emerald Cup is a fantastic cannabis contest. You get a lot of great entries. I'm sure a lot of the people entering, but has there been anything that has come from there that has really stood out over the years? Like, are you finding new stuff at the Emerald Cup, or is it really good representations of older stuff that you're seeing at the Emerald Cup?
Oh, goodness. I would say it's a nice mix, because we have categories that are geared towards the home grow, which is a lot more of like the legacy flavors that have been. But they had an innovation sector that we all, judged at the VIP area at the time. And in the edible sector is really, there's a constant innovation. The last couple of times that I was judging, it was the edibles arena, and it's just like hundreds of thousands of milligrams of cannabis. And sorry, excuse me, I am getting interruption call. I need to shut that off. So it's a nice real mix. One thing it does do and has done is beautiful cultivators like John Casale with Whitethorn Rose has given a platform to be able to connect people like Woody Harrelson to where some of the small craft farmers like John, who really deserve to have those licensing agreements and have those opportunities to go bigger with like Weedwoods and in the Southern California basin, and be able to proliferate their genetics in a little bit broader way. So I think that there's a nice little, partnering. Emerald Cup has always brought like a lot of grassroots. We preserve but still innovate at the same time. It's kind of it's a mash up the island, that's for sure.
Smash the island. So I want to go here with you, kind of like opposite ends of the spectrum. Now, I was watching a show, Organically Blunt. I like Jay. It's been on the show as a guest before, and I
He's
caught a
cool.
little bit of your show with him the other day, and you were telling a story about a federal raid. So I want to maybe go again, like I said, opposite ends of the spectrum. I want to, if you are at liberty to discuss it, maybe hear a little bit about that, and then we'll go straight into the amazing work you're doing with Indica Innovations, because running from the law to what you're doing, awesome story. So
Say it again.
I don't know.
Oh, there you are. You're back.
Okay, I'm back. Hello. You probably missed a lot of that. Shoot. I was just saying I love the contrast between the stories, and if you can share this, of how your farm got busted, you were kind of able to escape. I'd love to hear the story about that. But going from that to where like Indica Innovations is today, with the work that you're doing in that realm, those are so opposite of each other. It's an awesome trajectory story. So I
Thank
don't know if you
you.
feel like talking about the raids or how that went down or not, but
Thank you. It always makes my hands clammy. Like to this day, like I get the clamminess. We've been having a lot of choppers over lately, so there's always like this PTSD that we deal with that
real. It's
that
real.
I deal with, and it makes your heart pitter patter a little bit harder, and you stay under the trees, and there's like this sense of urgency of where your brain is always like operating on trying to locate where the danger is coming from in survival mode instead of being able to fully focus. There's always like this bilateral thing. And so on my property in Sierra Nevada is I had started Harvest My Munchie company in 2001, like I said, and I did pretty well for myself in the way of I really pushed the initiative. I was part of the advocacy, starting dispensaries, working with 120 to 150 different dispensaries throughout the Bay, and then moving down to Los Angeles, where I partnered up with some different entities that I won't speak of, and some that I will, and the Russians, and yeah, we started getting raided in the Bay a lot. And the first Bay raids, I think it was 2008. They kept like knocking us down, and so I was a legal operating, nonprofit. Of course, we did our thing for donation kind of concepts that was working underneath that platform during Proposition 215. But the feds just kept coming in, and I got pretty well known for like all the different raids that they would have. They would see the different cameras, and they'd see me often on those cameras
Damn it.
for many, many hundreds of different places. And so they
Yeah.
narrowed it down, and you saw a lot of distribution as I was coming, back and forth from the mountains, many different pipelines from Emerald Triangle, Nevada County down, and feeding the Bay with what, they were able to really consume at that point, myself and several other hustlers. But I'm female, so I wasn't profiled as easily as a lot of people. I could slip through cracks that there that wouldn't be so obvious for yourself, between the two of us who would get stopped. And so it went on to, fuck. Every time I get on a podcast and these types of things, I start, stuttering, going, okay, how much do you actually say? Because it's still federally illegal. Like, how much do you
Yeah,
actually
no,
say?
don't. I
And so,
always say don't go into anything you're not comfortable with.
yeah, and
Absolutely. I don't want to
so,
put you on the spot like that.
no, it's totally okay. I leave myself an open book, and for every the reason that I started doing a lot of public speaking and things like that is because I want to stop the fear. And at this point, the amount of shit I've been through, like, what and you're gonna do to me now? Like, you've held guns at our heads, you've held us on the ground, you've taken everything from me, you've made me leave the country, like, you're gonna put me back in jail, you already asked me to do a 5-gallon bucket for 12 hours with no water. Like, how much, like, you know, what are you gonna do? So we tell our stories.
Right.
We're legacy. We've been fighting prohibition so everybody else can walk into a dispensary and buy some high profile bullshit that's fucking made with some crap ass non-organic crap. And really, we failed on our mission because of that. But anyways, back to the story before I get spicy up on that redhead shit. Um, uh, um, in 2009, I had already endured a couple of raids, and during those dispensary raids, all of us that had dispensaries down there, we just shut down and we'd move a couple of blocks or onto the other side of the city or the next city down. And so I bounced from, you know, Mission Intent to Daly City down to Richmond City, and then eventually ended up in Half Moon Bay. So basically, like going down the California coastline. Raids kept happening, but those ones were on a state level. But they started taking notes or whatever. So 2001, I was like, fuck this. Like, I want to work from where I believe. I'm from Nevada County. I grew up in Grass Valley for a long time, up in Graniteville, which is the base of the Sierra Nevadas. You know, we have Truckee and South Lake Tahoe and shit like that. And it's a really red town. And so in 2001, when I walked into the planning department, it was like, I'd like to start a cannabis dispensary. They were like,
You're not from here, are you?
oh no, I was from there.
Oh,
and,
no.
and some of them actually already knew me because I'd done time in juvenile hall in that town. But I ended up getting told that, like, we're going to pretend that you didn't say that. You need to go ahead and walk out that door right now. And that was in 2001. And 8 years later, the same people, they handed my neighborhood over to the feds. And so what happens is, you know, you get these complaint neighborhoods or these complaint areas. And for us, there's this area called the Ridge. North San Juan Ridge is like a little island that's it's an island in between the forks of the Yuba River, which is a really well-known river in the Sierra Nevadas.
Uh-oh. We dropped out. This is a good story. Uh-oh. Okay. Hopefully she doesn't bounce for too long because we don't want to miss too much of the story.
That goes across the United States. The Highway 80 goes across the United States. And so we were like automatically stationed as like a pub pipeline. But all of our kids are stigmatized. We're called rich kids. We're treated like the poverty shirts, the hippie parents, the crazy motherfuckers, the bikers, like the deviants of the world stuffed up there, while the high class people are living in Victorians down on the other side of the river. And so they're like, that's where like it came in. So the county had the feds come in 2009, and they were pretty much like, and I paid a federal lawyer to find this shit out. Is they came in and they were, you know, where's the hot spot? We know that like this much cannabis coming out of your county, like where's your hot spot? And they knew what I've been doing because work with me, and I bring them the clones, and I know exactly what product they hold, and then I can place their product at the correct dispensary for the correct patients and their needs and stuff. And I had already done all these connections for 10, 15 years at that point. And then we had been trimming really fast. 2009, like I had like 9 trimmers out on my property, which is a long ways, about 12 miles off grid. And we were busting out for about 2 weeks. We were like, okay, we got to go. 24-hour shifts. We were trimming until 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to get out as fast as we can. We wake, 2 hours off, 5 o'clock in the morning, keep going. And I was worn down, and my partner, this Native American friend of mine named Ant, big ups, Ant, I know you watch this eventually. He was just like, you need to go lay down. Like I'm cutting my hands. I'm not like speaking eloquent. I hadn't slept in 3 freaking days, and but we had pumped out like 45 pounds in that day. So I was like ready to go. So I go and I get it. I go to lay down in my main trailer, and it's about 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever. Long story short, I get woken up by like this fucking shaking, and they're like, Ace, you got to get up. They're coming. Like they're fucking coming. You got to get up. And I was like, I'm so delirious, dude. And I actually find this all in my book. I've been writing my biography, and my partner is waking me up and they said they're coming. So my girlfriend Jess she worked at the little country store that we had. She's seen the feds lining up coming up my mountain, and
Okay.
she
Yeah.
knew
Yeah.
that they were coming for me because I was the one who did all the business for the mountain. And so I got the call in and I jumped out, basically screaming at all my trimmers, you fucking run, like fucking run. They're coming. And we had everybody jumping in the back of trucks, like they're in the side of fucking Home Depot, like Mexicans, like jumping, like everybody's just peeling out, trying to get one of the directions on the dirt roads, trying to get out and stuff. We knew that they were coming. And they come in, and I get the last one, and my uncle Phil, and I hand him my tray of clones, which was the last of my phenotypes that I was protecting. I was just like, go and like take these and like lock me in and just lock in. And I had all of these prescriptions from all of these patients that I worked with, and I was a valid cannabis caregiver, and I had all of them had drawn contracts with me that I was their official caregiver, and was in my numbers, under 200. And well, I had 320 at the time, actually, to tell you the truth. But, yeah, long story short, they came in, they blocked off my road, they knocked me in, and I ended up bailing. And then we ran, and yeah, I ran a long time and bailed out. I had like a mini skirt and like slippers on, and I was half asleep. And I managed to ditch out. They took all my guns, they took all our money, they robbed my whole neighborhood, they took all of our gold, they take everything, their tractors, their cars, their property. Even the dude that was living in an RV at the end of the road, that's just like an old homeless dude on BLM. Like he had one plant, and they still took him, and so they took us all. My partner ended up spending 3 years in federal penitentiary. He was sentenced to 8. And I left the country. I moved to Thailand, and I started learning international cannabis and manufacturing, and then started inventing because I realized that the end was coming. There, no matter how much we worked, like no matter how much we believed in medical, no matter how much we believed in freeing the plant, like it wasn't gonna stop. And so I started inventing, and I got some inspiration and took some of my ideas, because I've always been a drawer and an inventor and somebody that like took whatever I could in the backwoods and figured out how to make it freaking work. And I invented CropTops Greenhouses and filed for my first patent in 2012, and then dealt with more federal raids, dealt with more federal raids, then dealt with more federal raids up in Trinity, and then fought for a couple more years while working internationally. And 4.5 years later, from federally and them trying to federally indict me, I was federally patented in 4.5 years. So I just changed the game, and I decided, you know what, now I know your game. And so I've been learning ever since, and I just never stopped. And so preserving genetics the whole time, I kept that one clone that from that raid. I kept it for 19 years.
Damn. And that's the goo?
The original afgoo, yeah.
Wow, that is amazing, because again, that trajectory is just, I love how you just put it there. It's like from federal indictment to federal patent. And let's show everybody kind of what that is about, what we're talking about here. So this is actually the CropTops Greenhouse's Instagram page, which everybody is linked down in the show notes too.
Thank you. I appreciate that as support and endorsement.
Yeah,
I chose not to sell out to
absolutely.
Monsanto, so I still do this completely on my own. I manufactured on my own. I can write patents and help people do this exact same thing if they have ideas. So this is 9.3 polywoven that's created only in Korea, and this is an instant pop-up portable greenhouse that protects plants from storms. It also is used in breeding projects. That creates a space for isolation and quarantine and pest management, to be used in indoor for those fogging chambers, sterilizing genetics before they're entered into your metric system, or just in your outdoor garden, creating either a patio table garden or a full covers up to a 12, 13 foot tall plant, or covers an average patio table about the size of a patio umbrella. And Yeah, I appreciate you sharing all this. This has been a long-winded work. I've done it completely on my own. I launched, premiered, um, before I got my patent in 2013 with High Cannabis Cup and then Emerald Cup. And so being a grassroots female inventor, it's been crazy. And I've gotten to, had a chance to bridge the gaps into corporate structure and learning about intellectual property and genetics and IP, how to create IP portfolios, and really how to, create something from nothing and know that your ideas and your creativity have an opportunity to, give some diversity. So I I definitely have been looking for more distributors. I don't have any distributors in your state currently, but you can buy them off of Amazon or from Bayside Garden Supply in Humboldt, California, or from me directly, which I love to ship them to you directly because I just run it on my own. I have been looking into licensing my patent out to larger companies, but right now, unfortunately, in the commerce cycle, I chose to not line up with Scott's Garden Care because they're owned by Monsanto, and I have not sold my patent as of yet due to those decisions. So I'd rather struggle than not sleep.
Good for you. I think you'll be rewarded in the long run. And that's always the risk. That's always the gamble. But again, it's, again, being off grid and growing up, you just had to get it done. Things don't wait. You have to have it happen. And that is such a valuable life skill that more people need, because a lot of people think they can do things. A lot of people like, yeah, I would have done this. I woulda, shoulda, coulda. Who's out there
Yeah,
doing
right.
it? You
And we
know, who's out
can
there
do it
doing it?
then. Yes, yes, exactly.
Exactly. So it's good to see you doing that. And I mean, that does kind of dovetail right into the, the Indica innovations, which I'll pull up here too. And don't worry, guys, we are going to do another seed giveaway here. But this is just perfect to roll into it, because this kind of, again, the arc from being waking up in the trailer, you gotta run to like, people, I know my shit. So let me pull up the Indica innovations here real quick, and maybe you can kind of explain this,
I hope
because
it
we do
doesn't
have
come out that arrogant.
no, I don't think so at all. Not at all. This, the real ones. Those are the people who I enjoy talking. That's actually, I mean, that's why the show called is Real Cannabis. And like I've been, I've seen you for years talking, familiar, with people that too. But we never crossed paths, and it was that Instagram post you put up, and I was like, I've got to talk to her. I've got to, get the story kind of out there a little bit more, just to
That's
express it,
support,
because
man.
again,
Thank you.
it's man, it's the people who work until their hands bleed. I've made so many people so much money in my life. You know what I mean? It's not in my bank account. So we need to support those people, because that's really the backbone of the industry, of what I would like to call the industry, and the people we know. So that's that. Yeah. Thank you again for coming on, and tell us, sorry for rambling there, but tell us about the Indica Innovations International. And I'll scroll through this here real quick.
Yeah, Indica Innovations International, I created after receiving patents and working in several third world countries. I started in Thailand, moved to Vietnam, did a couple of jobs in Morocco and Bermuda. And then about 9 years ago, I started working in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the lower Caribbean, Martinique, Antigua, and working on major projects where in Australia, I was certified in CGMP, went off to be certified in IPM in Africa, and then went through several different certification processes such as Sigma 6, which you can do basically online,
Mhm.
FDA food handlers, the basic online stuff, and applying all of the information that I had been gathering through my, personal experiences in patents in all these aspects, as well as, OSHA, creating standard operating procedures, helping people innovate their business from small to large. I was contracted out to help with the first 300-acre medical marijuana license that was offered on the island, and as well as do some projects on medical mushrooms, which at the time were legalized through the British and Canadian governments. And so it's been a really interesting journey in just the sphere of both plants and fungi and how those jurisdictions kind of combine and integrating culturally, consciously. So not allowing whitewashing to go on in different cultures, really paying homage to flagship cultures such as the Rastafari, the Yoginis, also sorts of different cultures that I can't even begin to go on, is really about not whitewashing, not allowing the whitewashing, but giving my science, my research, my experience, and actually helping integrate into their culture. I'm not going to make them make gummies like all day long. I'm going to ask what is their native sweet, if it's a sugared papaya leaf, then we can infuse that. We don't have to whitewash the same sterile indoor green, the same plastic things as it. And so I really wanted to, kind of honor the world's integration by giving it the chance to like have a conscious integration platform. And so I just offered myself out to the world and started traveling a lot. And most recently, I helped create the curriculum for University of Virgin Islands, which is the first cannabis commerce. In 2020, I was awarded International Business Innovator of the Year by the IOATP, International Association of Professionals in New York. So I was really, I've, had a lot of gratitude and just, I have a pure love for people and planet. And when I realized that cannabis could be a catalyst for all of the good things that we needed in order to save not just our society, but our mentality and help evolve, and that cannabis could be a catalyst for every aspect of it. I just started integrating that. And that's been like a really crazy, amazing journey. Like, we grew cannabis on an active volcano, and then the volcano blew in 2021. And then going back and working down there after the volcano blew, and just riding in the backs of trucks on the wayward tropical islands. It's a lot of people glamorize those types of things, but in all reality, it's cannabis. Wherever cannabis is often places of poverty, and where cannabis is sold is because they need commerce in that area. And so I like to, take it back to reality and not allow like the glamour shots kind of thing go on where they're like, oh my God, from California.
Totally.
Oh, it's just like, I'm like, no, dude, like, no, these are gun toting motherfuckers. Like, they're pirates.
Right.
They're people that don't fall underneath the Constitution. And so
It's again going back to some people's livelihoods. It really is their livelihoods. It is food on the table. Like
and it's important to honor that.
we do it so we could buy another NFL jersey or whatever. I'm totally not that guy, but that person's out there. It's just like, oh, yo. So yeah, it's
that's why
all around the
educating
world.
and offering that education, I've worked with Oaksterdam University for, several years at this point. I started Canna Life Academy in Washington and Tahoma many years ago, because what my goal was is to offer my experiences and what I've hard learned, not just from being certified and going through, thousands of dollars worth of education and years of dedication, years of college, but hands-on fails that have, and I've gained so much knowledge from the failures and the successes, both more so from failures, to where I am able to go, that's gonna, let's steer this business here. This is how you expand, and look at how to project your market forward. And that could be even in a craft way. And then all these people, even in your state, even if you can't grow your own, or it's hard to get a license because you have a monopolized licensing system that's sold out by the local state bodies, you still have the opportunity to create artwork. You have the opportunity to grow a hemp plant that is non-THC cannabinoid bearing and still participate in the process of growing cannabis. It's just not the same, even though we have loopholes like THCA now.
And I suggest you all get some THC plants and put them in your backyard because they can't do anything about it.
Right. Yeah, grow them while you can. You know, honestly, I would grow outdoors if I had the climate for it here. I'm right on the coast, and you know, the Washington on the west side of the mountains,
Wet.
you can get great looking plants until September, and
And
then
then
you're just done. Then you're done.
Trigus Nation. That's how Humboldt is, honestly. Anywhere on the coast of Humboldt is just so much botrytis and molds that they battle that it'll take you inland every time if you're a grower. It is not
Yeah.
fun.
I've got that control freak side of me. I'm like, I'm just gonna do it indoors where I can control everything, play God, and get exactly what I want. So yeah.
See,
I'll
and
do
that's a lot of meticulous attention to detail. And a lot of people don't understand how much it is hard to play God, where you may go through 1,000 different controls and methods and pre warnings or preparations and stuff, but you're still coming across pest problems and a complete
always
loss when you paid $1,000 for power and all of a sudden you have no freaking crop because it's wasted. And it takes a lot of attention. It's like having kids.
It does. It does. I like plants better.
That's right. Right there. Well, I love kids too, but plants are a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know. Let's give out one more pack of beans here real quick before we finish up. Transitioning there. Grow beans, not kids. No, I didn't say that. That's horrible, right?
Well, I mean, either
You
way,
can't
grow
say that.
just grow everything. God damn it!
Right? Grow it all. All right. If you guys are in the US and you would like to play for a pack, we're doing the Chill Out OG. If you're in the US, just go ahead and type chill into the chat here. We'll get this out again. This is the Chill Out OG F4, and this is coming from Mr. Grow It. He's been working on this for a while. This is something, again, that Grumpy Toad had. Grumpy Toad donated all these genetics for me to give away to you guys.
Can I put chill in the chat too?
Hell yeah, you can put chill in the chat. Absolutely.
So I'll say that not everybody probably knows what F4 means.
Whoops.
And F4 for me means it's a better quality.
Yeah, so stabilization, because that's, again, that is one thing that we've lost.
It's back crossed, stable, strong stock. That's probably the best one in there.
Yep, and I know, and again, it's cool when I see people documenting the work, because you can really kind of follow the progression of this throughout the different phases, and he'll explain what his progressions are, what the selections are, and it's kind of I appreciate it, I like it, I do it myself. That's the best way to really demonstrate what people can expect. Grow it, give them the examples. I forgot where I was going with that, absolutely, because I get passionate about that sometimes. A lot of people just put stuff together, because again, when you said F4, I'm like, yeah. And again, this is the good F4 as in you're meaning it, but a lot of people will be like, oh, an F1. It's so there's a disconnect between horticulture and cannabis culture. And although we're using the same terms, like an F1, they mean different things. To a lot of cannabis folks, an F1 is just, I took two things, outcrossed them, and it's the first filial generation. In horticulture, F1 is actually a truly stabilized line. It's homozygous. You plant 10 seeds, you're going to get 9.5 of them that look identical to each other. That's a true F1. But I digress, because that's not the world we live in. Yeah, Cindy 99 is always the example I point to for people who want to understand back crossing and how that can work to lock in traits. Cindy 99 is an easy one to follow. I don't know, what's your desert island strain if you had to have one? I know that's a tough question, but let's just say today's taste, today's opinion. What would be your desert island strain today?
Well, I'm always going to answer goo, but
okay.
it doesn't like desert islands, so I'd love it to death, and so it wouldn't work there. And so I think that
the strongest desert island strain I know is the Vinci weed from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The Vinci weed was actually a Canadian bred BC that got brought down there and bred with a Venezuelan tiger spice. And so I think it's called a Vinci tiger spice, and it'll grow with no water on a desert island, literally, and just keep on growing. But it takes, like, from what I saw, like 16 weeks to flower or something crazy. I was like, is this even possible? Like,
Yeah, I know.
still flowering? This is crazy.
Oh, I like the short flowering ones. Admittedly, I enjoy smoking the long flowering ones when I go to Amsterdam, but growing them myself, I like to get more harvest per year. So
Yeah.
I'm part of the problem when it comes to the disappearance of the long flowering strains. But
I'm not partial to them either, because I'm a dep artist, because it is not effective to grow longer winded strains indoor or in light deprivation. When I'm looking at a solid 4 more weeks of doing this shit, like, no, like, please,
no.
just no.
Yeah, and to really illustrate that, and I know they do have automated depths now, but those are, gosh, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, I'd imagine, for a big enough greenhouse. But
Mhm.
try not using a timer on your tent. For anybody who's wondering what light dep is like, try being there every day at the same time, no matter what, to zip your tent and
Oh yeah,
see how far you get before you're like, I'm getting a timer.
mess up. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's how you
dedication.
know.
We were all married. I think that's why a whole bunch of our generation is actually doesn't have. We don't. None of us have relationships and stuff. Like, we have now. We're starting to try to get into relationships at our age, but most of us were totally married to the game through all of the times when everybody else would be out dating. Like, you're stuck on a farm depping, and then
Yeah.
it lasts forever, and it's not even a joke. I know a lot of people that, like, we've worked on our career for like
Dedicated.
sometimes too long. Yeah,
I mean, it is a catch-22 in a lot of industries, but this one particular, right? Because again, you have to be there. There are so many times where I'm like, I gotta go home.
yeah, yep,
I gotta go home. Sorry.
yep.
I
There's
can't
no
stay.
way around it.
I
We
gotta
gotta go
go.
now.
Yeah,
Gotta
I
go.
gotta go. I kind of like my plants more than you. I like you, but I like them better. So
Yeah,
yeah, you know,
and they
shit
make
like
you
that.
happy at the end, right? They got a happy ending is always built into cannabis. Happy
They're
ending.
always smiling. Yes. Always smiling at you. They never talk back. Happy endings are great.
And
Let's give somebody, oops, I hit the wrong button there. I was trying to give somebody a happy ending and I messed that up. So I knocked
oh
it
man,
out. Garage
well,
parlors. There
you
we go.
know, I know, right? Oh, that was derogatory, but we know that Asian women are good at everything. So
Just here's here- I was gonna go down that road here for a second, but why do they all have the same hand with the rose picture on the front? Like, why is it always the same? Anyways, I don't think they're doing anything there. It's always the same
right?
picture.
I guess they don't like to have their hands photographed or something. I'm not sure.
Well, maybe we'll solve this mystery, but not likely. Not
No,
likely
not
today.
likely.
Not
Da,
likely.
na, na, na,
I'd
na.
go out and take a poll. You're right. Anybody in chat, if you know, just let us know, and then we'll spread the word. But and they're always right by military recruiting offices too. Isn't that another coincidence? It's like right in the same
That
strip
is
mall.
so not a coincidence.
I don't think so either.
Yeah,
We're unraveling the mystery. All right, we're
whole
getting too
family
deep.
is military, and I swear they like you can smell like a potential recruit like from a mile away. I'm always like, no, I'm never gonna join the military. I'm sorry.
How many
I'm
pull-ups can
all
you do?
about the war on drugs. You fight the war in Afghanistan. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, kind of unrelated, related. I was just reading the other day that they're trying to merge or they want to merge the ATF with the DEA. And I'm like, how would that would Again, shit show, as if it's
I
not
know,
already.
that's a total bad cross. The Alaskan thunderfuck has nothing to do with the Durban. I can't even think of one that's called. Why don't we have one called the DEA yet? Like, because
I would be
we
afraid to
got Alaskan
Google it,
thunderfuck is the ATF, but we know that's
right?
actually. I mean, it's much better thinking of it like that than what it actually means, because that shit freaks me out. And I can't even talk about political stuff right now because it's so fucking corrupt and so
I
messed
know.
up. And I work in the Virgin Islands, and we couldn't even finish our class because the university shut us down after 2 years, just randomly saying, "Oh, we decided all of a sudden we can't have cannabis stuff here now, even though
Yep.
you've been building this curriculum to offer the people." And it's really, the whole world is kind of a little bit in like, regardless if
Wait
you're
and
a
see.
Trumper or a non-Trumper, there's some shit going on that it's all about stockpiling. I'm a doomsday prepper from the gate, and that's never gonna stop.
This is why we have weed. This is why we have weed, so we can
And you gotta
chill.
stock up on beans, because at the end of the world,
Yes.
you're not gonna have any freaking weed, people.
Yes, stock up now. Get your regular beans, make more beans, have seeds for the coming. Yeah. Let's give away this pack. Let's give away this. And I want, actually, before we do this, while we're doing this, I want to give you the floor here real quick to let people know where they can find you. Anything else you want to say? Anybody you want to shout out? Like, what's the best place for people to find you before we give away this pack of beans?
I am able to be found in Humboldt and the Emerald Triangle, as well as the Virgin Islands and Nevada City, California, or anywhere else where I am needed. I am absolutely ready to help you with indicainnovations.com. You can find me on LinkedIn at AC Moon Cameron, Facebook under AC Moon, and IG under AC Moon and CropTops Greenhouses. So I am definitely is in support. My shout outs are into the alliances that I am absolutely in support of, and hope that they find them great traction in all of the policy endeavors that they are working on. New Zealand Hemp Industry Association, Nevada City Cannabis Alliance, Humboldt Cannabis Alliance, Mendocino Cannabis Alliance, and soon to be Virgin Islands Cannabis Alliance, as we teach the world how to advocate for policy change and how to build the commerce and the places that you need and want to be a part of. So we started this journey. We hope that you continue it worldwide. Just keep fighting for what you believe in. We're fighting to free the plant, and we're fighting for the right to be entrepreneurs with the plant, to innovate and integrate consciously. And yeah, get a hold of me if you need my help. I'm here worldwide. We'll be writing some books. Look for me in Weed World Magazine, Cannabis Now, Grow Magazine, Dank Magazine, and come see us out in California at the Emerald Cup and CannaFest coming up here this September and August. So I really thank you for your time, Todd.
It's absolutely my pleasure. And holy cow, if people think I'm a busy guy, boom! I think I just found someone busier than myself. And all of her links, yeah, all of well, your Instagram, people can get a hold of you if they just scroll down into the show notes of this, click on the links right there, connect directly with AC Moon. Oh, thank you so much for coming. This has been fun. Let's give away
Absolutely.
Let's give away these beans here real quick. Let me see if I can hit the right button this time. Okay, one more time. Everybody, US only, pack of Chill Out OG F4 from Mr. Grow It. This will be coming to you. Good luck, everybody. Where's the right page? I have so many open now. Woo woo! Draw. Okay, there we go. All right, it's rolling.
That's so
Rolling.
crazy.
I like it this way because it just collects the names for you. You don't have to think about it. Old school.
The win! Yeah!
Old school. You can't keep an old school down, man.
Yes.
I like that. I like seeing that because
That was a
you, my
great wrap
friend,
up. Just to have old school always freaking wins. And it begins.
Old school always wins. That was an excellent quote there. I don't know how better to end it, because you, my friend, you're old school, you are legacy, and thank you for keeping the stories and the history alive, and for helping many people get into this journey. So keep on keeping on.
Thanks so much for having me, Chad. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you keep growing, even in that place where they're telling you no. Just keep on saying yes.
Yes, 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 yes. I will say yes all day. All right, guys, everybody in chat, thank you again for watching. Thank you for hanging out. Have a good weekend. Party on.
Fuck to Westport.